Viewer discretion is advised. You are listening to Wine and Crime, the podcast where two friends chug wine, chat true crime, and unleash their worst Minnesotan accents. Hello there. I am your host, Amanda.
I'm your other host, Lucy.
And this week, we have a very special gals pick. We're in kind of like a swath of gals picks right now.
Well, we had a lot to get through by the end of the year. So, we're cramming them in. But we always love your suggestions, dear listeners.
Oh, we do. So definitely get at us or, join that Patreon tier so you can sponsor an Epi and get all of your favorites covered. Assuming we haven't covered them already or they're not too horrifying and we don't reject them. Which has only happened like once.
Yeah. Maybe a couple more times.
Yeah.
You kind of crowdsourced your case for today, didn't you?
In a way, I did because I was having a really hard time finding something that fits our topic, which I will go over momentarily. But my Googling brought me to a great Reddit thread that had a lot of really good suggestions on it. And so I just started going through the list of people's recommendations, and I found one that I'd never heard of, and it is a weirdo of a case.
I love a weirdo.
From a weirdo of a guy.
Well, speaking of weirdos.
Yeah, today's topic is Deadly Dorks. Fucking nerds and dorks and dweebs. Doing shady deeds.
Yep.
Deadly Dorks.
Deadly Dorks.
I am super excited about this. So I'm going to just dive right in to the wine crime pairing so that we can get moving and dive into these cases today. Does that sound good?
Dork out.
We can dork out.
All right, let's go.
I am super pumped because I got my first wine delivery from FirstLeaf.
Me too. Woo! I'm so excited.
This is the FirstLeaf Wine Club, and it is amazing and chooses wines for you based on your tastes and preferences. And I love that they sent in my box this little customized catalog that I'm showing it for the viewers at home that goes over all of your choices. And it gives you food recommendation pairings. It gives you tasting notes. They write you a little note just for Amanda. Based on your quiz answers, we selected 6 world-class wines that match your taste. Here you'll find tasting notes, pairing suggestions, and regional information for each bottle. They go over what you saved by ordering it through their wine club, which I love to see. I'm Midwestern. I love to see the savings. The bottle that I pulled out of the box today that I really want to try is the Anelo Malbec blend. It's a 50-50 blend out of Argentina.
You like that.
I really do. It's 2 of my favorite varietals, but I don't feel like I often see them blended together. Malbec and Merlot are not top of the mind things that I would consider for a red blend. So I'm super, super excited to pop this open and discuss it today. But this really is a perfect pairing because if you are a wine dork, FirstLeaf is your freaking girl. This kind of attention to detail, I'm obsessed with. So I'm going to share the information they provided about the Anelo 2021 50% Malbec, 50% Merlot from Mendoza, Argentina. This blend showcases both varieties working in harmony. The nose offers aromas of dried herbs with red and dark fruit notes. The palate highlights Merlot's cherry notes and modest tannin with Malbec's smooth regional character, ripe plum, mocha, and balsamic.
Oh my God.
My mouth is watering. Pairs well with barbecued ribs, yum. Smoked brisket, yum. Pasta marinara, yum. Retails for about $27, but if you are a member, you don't pay the retail price. You get the discounted price, which I love.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I just am really excited to pop this open. And if you want to dork out and hang out with our pals at FirstLeaf, you can check them out at firstleaf.com/gals. That's FirstLeaf.com/gals. So go check them out. And in the meantime, I'm going to pop this bottle open.
That's going to be so good for like this fall day. We're getting an insane
cold and stormy.
It's so dark outside. It's 2 p.m. And it looks like it's 7 p.m.
Yeah, the wind's been blowing like crazy, and my hammock swing I forgot to take down yesterday, and now it's completely tangled up in my oak tree.
Oh.
So I'm going to file that under things to deal with when Bill gets home.
Do you remember that 25-foot inflatable Frankenstein that Corey had in our front yard?
Yeah, R.I.P.
For approximately 36 hours.
And then it got messed up?
Yeah, the wind blew it into my bird feeder stand that was right next to it, and it ripped.
No!
Fucking duh.
Oh, it was so fun while it lasted.
Don't worry, it's still in a crumpled, collapsed heap on our lawn because...
Of course it is. Well, we'll pour one out for Frankenstein. We ready for this pop?
I'm ready.
Oh!
That was
there she blows.
Nice, Pat. Oh.
Ooh. Ooh, the nose is real nice. Look how inky it is.
Looks like grape juice.
Oh, that smells good. Hold on. Bitch. Ooh, that is good. It's like surprisingly lighter bodied. I think because of the color, I was expecting it to be a heavier red, but I'd say it's in the medium to light range, which I feel like Merlot is always tricky like that. Like she looks thick, but then she's actually like really soft and kind of delicate when you taste it. But Merlot and Malbec are a really nice combo. I am loving this.
I'm so glad you like it.
Well, cheers, everybody.
Cheers. I'm not drinking because I got to go pick up June after this, but I do have 3 fun-sized Crunch bars on deck.
Oh, your fave.
My fucking favorite. It is Halloween tomorrow as we're recording. So I got a lot of candy around me.
I love that for you. Welcome back. Lucy, what do you got for us today? What's our background, maybe psych, hopefully a little case for Deadly Dorks?
There is a case, and it is really,
really dork.
Horrific.
Super dork.
This is one dark dork. Okay, so just a definition and a short history of dorks, the word dork. According to the Cambridge Dictionary, a dork is a person who is physically or socially awkward or unfashionable. It can also mean a dumb person. Because I always thought of dorks as the same things as nerds, which kind of implies intelligence. But from the actual definitions that I was finding online and also the dork connection in my case, it is not associated with intelligence. It's just awkwardness, dressing weird, socially awkward.
Well, mine is both dork and nerd then, because my guy is smart, like has a very high IQ.
Okay. Well, I think that it's good that we're covering our bases.
Well, and also this is the OG definition, but there's some value to how words evolve in how we use them.
Absolutely.
So
language is alive, baby.
Yes. I didn't misunderstand the assignment, okay?
You didn't.
No, I didn't.
No, you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
According to the OED, the Oxford English Dictionary, the earliest known use of the noun dork was in the 1960s, and the earliest actual written evidence is from 1961 in the writings of J. Peacock. So most etymologists think that dork is an alteration of the word dick, perhaps
because I thought it meant like a whale penis. Is that a lie?
I don't think it means a whale penis, but
hey,
they
Siri,
think...
Does dork mean whale penis?
I don't know how to respond to that.
Okay, bitch. Did you hear that? I don't know how to respond to that.
What did you ask Siri last night? How many nipples does a cat have?
8! I love Siri, but sometimes we fight.
I don't think it has anything to do with a whale penis, but there is the association with the word with like a phallic reference. And they think it kind of comes from the Midwest. But going back to this J. Peacock author, they wrote in 1961 a novel called Valhalla and used the word dork where it was most certainly used to mean penis, but he spelled it, they spelled it D-O-R-Q-U-E, dork.
There definitely are more rumors of dork meaning whale penis, but that it's more penis as a whole, but that like it just became popular in describing whale penises. And now I am bombarded with Google images of whale penises, and they are fucking wild.
They're gross. They're pointed.
You need to see this.
I'm looking, baby.
No, this is a stuffed one. I'm putting it in the drive.
I see it. Stuffed whale penis from Atlas Obscura.
Look how happy this man is that's holding it. The title is Sold Stuffed Whale Penis. And he's holding this giant whale dick.
It's really big.
It
looks like a
massive.
huge brown carrot.
It does look like a huge brown carrot. Okay, I hate it. Continue.
Why is there a string hanging from the end?
It's stuffed. So that's probably keeping the stuffing in.
Ew, it's got like a drawstring.
Yeah. What if it leaks?
Oh my God.
No, my whale penis is leaking.
Ew.
Ew.
Leaking dicks. Oh my God. Okay.
Y'all.
So D-O-R-Q-U-E, dork. They were using it to mean penis. A 1964 article in American Speech confirmed the phallic meaning, but changed the spelling to D-O-R-K.
Okay.
So there's like kind of a surprising amount of etymological background here. So there is also something called Google Dorks. Have you heard of Google dorking?
No.
It's a real thing. So it's an index of search techniques that utilize advanced operators to uncover sensitive or specific information on the internet.
We need to learn this for our research.
Bitch, I'm not that smart. I barely understood the concept of this.
We're going to dabble in Google dorking.
This is hacker stuff. So this information is useful for cybersecurity, competitive intelligence, or research. So it's basically a unique way to access detailed information that is on the internet, but it's not easily found. Like you can't just Google. I mean, they are using Google to do this, but it's not like the way you and I just Googled dork whale penis. You know what I mean? So, for example, a person can access public web cameras.
Oh, God.
So if your web camera doesn't have like a secure like network or something, anyone can access it. Yeah. Or like specific versions of certain websites that are vulnerable, like an old version of a website that, you know, maybe the security wasn't up to snuff, or I don't fucking know. See, I can't dork.
You got this.
It was introduced in 2002 by computer security expert Johnny Long. Long dork. Although Google Dorks is a powerful tool, you probably should use it responsibly and ethically because, again, it is basically hacking.
Yeah, this actually, upon your explanation, does not sound like something I want to participate in.
Certain activities such as bypassing paywalls or authorization pages can be considered intellectual property theft. And I would assume more than that, depending on the websites you're sneaking into. So then we come to, I like the website TV Tropes.
Yes, you do.
So according to said website, there is a trope called adorkable. So adorkable characters are fictional characters whom the audience finds irresistible and cute because of their dorkiness, nerdiness, enthusiasm, or vulnerability.
New Girl.
That is exactly what this example is.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I thought, like, I feel like Ugly Betty works better for adorkable than...
That could work. Also, like, Big Bang Theory, Young Sheldon.
All the shows
all
that
count.
I find so fucking cringy.
Yeah.
That's not my kind of... That's the opposite end of the TV spectrum for me. Mm-hmm. These quirks give the character an endearing vulnerability rather than making the character an outcast. This character is not to be confused with the Hollywood nerd, which are like hot nerds.
Okay, so that actually would be the show. What show did I literally just say?
New Girl?
New Girl. Because, like, Zooey Deschanel is objectively hot.
Yeah.
So, like, she just wears glasses and has kind of, like, manic pixie dream girl energy.
Oh, my God. I cannot stand that. Okay. It's very, like, I'm not like most girls. Mm-hmm. I don't know. And the premise is so unrealistic.
They could never afford that apartment.
That and 3 single guys and 1 nerdy girl all moving in together. And then it's just like chaos ensues. I don't know. I just don't like
adorkable chaos.
Just get me out of here. Adorkable characters are specifically liked because of their dorkiness. I think I said that. Mm-hmm. According to Merriam-Webster, the first known use of the word adorkable was back in 1999. Mm-hmm. It is a real fucking word. And that was in an article for the LA Times. So now we're getting to New Girl again.
Oh, you like wrote about New Girl. Okay.
There's a whole part about New Girl. Yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay. I'm glad that you went there. Mm-hmm. So when the show New Girl came out in 2011, Fox focused its marketing push on Zooey Deschanel and came up with the promotional tagline, "Simply Adorkable."
Boo.
It's bad.
I was born to be a hater. Let's go.
The producer, Jake Kasdan, explained that the show, quote, advocates for the attractive dork. So the term adorkable worked well for the show at first because it drew a lot of attention. Audiences identified with the character, and this all helped it continue for 7 total seasons. But as time went by, the writers and actors decided that they no longer wanted to associate the word with the show because, as you pointed out, she's not really dorky. Mm-mm. She's an attractive woman.
Yeah, she's like hot and maybe a little bit quirky.
Yeah, and I clearly did not watch the show, but it didn't, like, socially awkward. I don't know. She was always wearing cute outfits.
It's just that annoying Hollywood thing of she has glasses and like maybe some nerdy interests. So there's, we have to make it so that those are the only 2 things that would make her like not desirable as a woman, even though she's arguably one of the most beautiful fucking women ever. It's like, come on, guys. It's like, it reminds me of the discourse around that fucking Netflix show or movie based on the book, The Uglies, where like the whole, I haven't read the book, but I've been following the discourse about the show. So like the whole thing is like it's a dystopian society where if you're ugly, there's like a caste system based on your looks, essentially. And if you want to ever like be, essentially free and like functional in society, you have to get a bunch of plastic surgery to meet like impossible beauty standards. And so it like the main character is like an ugly who I guess breaks into the world of the pretties or whatever, but they cast her as like this beautiful Hollywood starlet. And it's like, what the fuck, you guys? That's not an ugly person.
Yeah. She just hasn't filled in her eyebrows.
That's not a dork.
Yeah.
That's Zooey fucking Deschanel.
Yeah, so, and I think because of the way the plot line kind of progressed over the seasons, there's like romance and all that stuff. Like, it's no longer a dork
centric
scenario.
Show.
Yeah. So turns out New Girl was never meant to be adorkable in the first place. In 2015, Deschanel admitted she did not identify with the term that, in her words, was calculated by the network's marketing department.
She's like, fuck you, I'm hot. I'm not some dorky, fugly nerd. How dare you call me that?
Basically. And the show's creator, Liz Merriweather, felt the same way and said she never wanted it to be a cute show in that way.
Then why would you cast Zooey Deschanel?
I don't know.
Who is like the indie fucking manic pixie dream girl icon of the early 2000s.
Singing her own theme songs.
Seriously. Did anyone see 500 Days of Summer? Did anyone watch Elf?
I hated 500 Days of Summer.
I didn't hate it, but I'm a Zooey Deschanel hater. I'm sure she's a lovely person. Congratulations on your success. I just feel like she is the most one-note actress. She does one thing, and it's this. And it's fine.
It's fine. It works. That's her job. It's just not my...
I'm okay never seeing it again.
Yeah. So she didn't like the adorkable thing. The show's creator didn't like it. But too bad for them. The show is now permanently and academically associated with the word adorkable. Because in 2014, the Collins English Dictionary announced that following a Twitter contest, they would add the word to their index and credit the wordplay of Shannon Ryan, a literal Fox executive VP for marketing and communications.
She's like, I knew exactly what the fuck I was doing, and y'all can just deal with it.
And apparently it annoyed everybody because the Fox Networks Group CEO at the time, Peter Rice, was the first to share the news in an email with the subject header reading, "Adorkable is a real word now, and it's all your fault."
Why are people so up in arms about this? Like, guys, chill. It's a fucking silly word. Who gives a fuck? Calm the fuck down. Enjoy. You're rolling in money from 7 successful seasons of this show that was very popular. Lots of people loved it. Get over it. Get over it.
Adorkable. I mean, it's a stupid word on its own anyway, but
sure.
I'm not gonna send an email about it. I'm just gonna talk about it on a popular podcast.
Never thought about this.
I know,
and this
so
is like
when you were
Peter
like,
Rice's Roman Empire. He's lying awake at night, haunted by the word adorkable.
When I first said adorkable, you're like, oh yeah, like New Girl. I'm like, well, yes.
Oops. Buddy, you should make that instant association. Every
time
that association,
page of notes about it.
Every time that association is made, Peter Rice just gets like a little bit more life taken off of him. He's like
the light dims just a little more.
He's getting grosser by the day.
Gets a little paler, a little drier. He's just gonna turn into dust. Someday he's just going to be a pile of dust.
Oh, God.
Okay.
R.I.P.
So that is quite honestly as much fucking background and psych as I have for us.
That's okay. We got Zooey Deschanel. We got whale dicks.
Yep.
And we got...
Weeping whale dicks.
Leaking whale dicks. Spooky, scary skeletons, leaking, weeping whale dicks.
Oh, stop it. I hate it.
And cleared up the nerd dork differences. I think that's important.
Yeah.
You did great.
Well, thank you. I mean, that distinction is important with the connection to my case, so I had to kind of really showcase it.
Okay.
So here is my case, and trigger warning.
Yikes.
There's violence. Yikes.
Trigger
True crime
warning.
show. Hello.
This is a true crime podcast.
Okay. So, Kimberly Kates was born in Toledo, Ohio on March 6, 1967. She was a Pisces. She grew up in Arizona. She attended nursing school at Pima Community College in Tucson. There, she fell in love with nursing and found her true calling working with children in the pediatric unit at the medical center.
Okay.
She's a very, very caring woman.
Just a good person.
She reminds me of my mother-in-law.
Oh. Oh,
just
that's really nice.
Like everyone's mom, you know?
Isn't your mother-in-law's name Kim?
Yes, I just realized that. But she kind of does. I'll tell you more about Kim.
Okay.
In July of 1997.
This Kim, not your mother-in-law. Kim Kates.
I am going to just refer to Kim as the subject of this story, and
we are not going to talk about your mother-in-law again for the rest of the episode.
Yeah, because I don't want there to be any kind of confusion that this story is about my mother-in-law.
So let's clear up two things real quick. Lucy and Corey are not getting divorced, despite consistent rumors that somehow hit the internet. And Lucy's mother-in-law, Kim, is not Kimberly Kates, who we are talking about in this episode.
Although her name is Kimberly and her daughter's name is Katie.
Stop! You're not. I'm trying to help you.
I know. Okay.
You're just muddying the water.
I know. Okay. Back to this story. I will not reference my mother-in-law again. This Kim that we're talking about, Kim Kates, the subject of this case.
Yes.
Shares some personality traits with her. That's it. Okay. In July of 1997, Kim met the love of her life, Dave Kates. They got married after 3 months together, and a year later, they brought their daughter into this world. Her name was Jamie. For Kim, family came first, and she was the type of person who never missed a birthday, an anniversary, or any chance to celebrate a holiday with her family.
Blortney. Blortney coded.
Yes. Huge family gal.
Blortney is our human Rolodex for like the birthday / monumental life event anniversaries of everyone in our social circle, as well as all of their extended social circles.
Yeah.
She
remembers everyone's anniversary. Do you remember last week when I was like, I put on our calendar just arbitrarily December 18th for our gift exchange? And Courtney was like, "Aw, it's a special little girl's birthday." And I was like, "Oh, fuck, that's my daughter's birthday."
Well,
and I've got that day open.
Otto was born around that same time, too.
Yes, but she's also just a Rolodex.
I know. She just knows she knows everybody's important date milestones. It's amazing. I'm always impressed, and I always forget everything, so...
Yeah,
and I never remember anybody's fucking birthday.
The whole time I was pregnant, she would text me and be like, "You're 13 weeks today. How you feeling?" I'm like,
I didn't
know. I
didn't
know that. Thank
you, doctor, for updating me on my progress, because I didn't know.
Courtney is the NSA tracking my period.
I love her.
She keeps us all in line.
She keeps us young.
So in 2004, Kim, Dave, and Jamie moved to Mount Vernon, New Hampshire from Baltimore. Mount Vernon is a very small town. Tiny town of about 2,000 people, and Kim just immediately started making friends.
Oh.
She was very enigmatic. She was just like, it was impossible for you to not be drawn to like her enthusiasm and just warmth.
Oh.
Kim got a job working at St. Joseph's Hospital in Nashua. She fought hard to advocate for her patients and positively spoke her mind. Like, everyone fucking loved her. She's a great mom. She's a great nurse, great community leader. So, on the night of Sunday, October 4th, 2009, Dave was out of town, and Kim was at home with Jamie, who was at the time 11 years old. They were both sleeping in Kim's room. Not clear if they were both sleeping in the same bed, but they were sleeping in the same room.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, a car full of young men, teenagers, was driving around. They were looking for something to do, although they kind of had an idea of what they were going to do. The boys were 17-year-old Steven Spader, 19-year-old Christopher Gribble, 18-year-old William Marks, and 17-year-old Quinn Glover. Okay. So the two primary names that you should remember are Steven Spader. He's kind of the ringleader here. And Christopher Gribble.
The oldest.
Who's 19. So a lot of these articles were calling them men. And I was just like fucking barely.
Yeah, they're boys.
They're
teenage boys.
They're terrible. Mm-hmm. Terrible.
You can be both of those things. You can be terrible and a teenage boy.
Yeah, you sure can.
Hot take. Hot take. I know that's going to ruffle a lot of feathers.
Hot fucking take. They picked an isolated house at random, shut off the power to the home from like the breaker outside, and entered it with the intent to kill whoever was inside.
So they were just cruising around looking for something to do, and they were like, oh, home invasion.
There's more. I'll get to more of the background, what happened before this, when we get to
Got it.
Later.
That part. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay, this is awful. Spader and Gribble, the two main ones, entered the house. I think all four of them entered the house.
Yep.
But Spader and Gribble were the only ones who did the dirty work.
Oh, God.
They entered the house, and those two brutally attacked Kim and Jamie. Spader had a machete.
What the fuck?
And Gribble had a knife, and they were both just going at them.
New Hampshire is buck.
In this tiny-ass town.
This is so fucking weird.
Spader later said he hacked Kim 36 times in her head and torso while Gribble stabbed her. Both of them also attacked Jamie. At one point, I think Spader, they were hacking both of them, and then at one point he threw Jamie, and she like hit the closet door and like fell on the ground, and he assumed she was dead.
She was 11 years old.
She was 11 years old.
Oh my God.
So I'm pretty positive that Marks and Glover, the other two, were present during the attack, but they did nothing to stop it. Mm-hmm. All four of them then ransacked the house for valuables before fleeing the scene. Kim's devastating injuries were fatal, and she died in the attack.
Oh my God.
11-year-old Jamie was horrifically maimed, but still alive. She survived by pretending to be dead until the boys left.
Honestly, so brave and smart and amazing that she was able to do that.
And she was fucked up. She was really fucked up.
Oh.
So several doctors would later testify that the blows that cut off portions of Jamie's left foot, split open her head, and struck her face with enough force to break her jaw had to have come from a heavy and sharp weapon such as a machete.
Oh my fucking God.
Yeah. So Jamie's obviously soaked in blood. She somehow makes it into the kitchen to call the police from the kitchen phone. And they also said later that had she lost consciousness before she called 911, she would have died from her punctured lung.
It's a miracle.
It's an absolute miracle that they got to her in time to save her life.
Girl, what the fuck is this case?
Mm-hmm.
You're crazy, girl.
I know.
Okay.
The boys were
this.
The worst parts are over.
Sure.
The boys were quickly arrested the next morning on Monday, October 5th, 2009. By late Tuesday morning, they had all made brief court appearances. They entered no pleas and spoke only briefly to say that they didn't have any questions, and they all planned to request court-appointed lawyers.
So was Jamie able to identify them? Like, do you know how they were arrested so quickly, or like it just there was enough evidence that they were tearing around town, people just knew it was them?
I think that there was definitely witness testimony that pointed to them later on, but how they were arrested so quickly, I don't have that information. Because it's 2009, I would think that there were like maybe security footage somewhere that captured them. Mm-hmm. It's possible that Jamie recognized something about them, or that they left something there. I don't have that information.
Okay, that's fine. I was just curious if you knew.
Yeah, well, I'm glad they did catch him right away because...
Yeah, thank God.
Yeah. Spader and Gribble were charged with first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and attempted murder, and were ordered to be held without bail. Marks and Glover, the two other, the lookout ones.
Like lookouts / passive participants.
Mm-hmm. They were charged with burglary, conspiracy to commit burglary, and robbery, and held on a $500,000 cash bail.
Wow.
Probably not because of those charges, but because they were present and they didn't know how much they actually had to do with the murders at that time.
Right. They're still investigating, and it's like, we think you might be less dangerous, but you're still dangerous for picking a house at random.
Mm-hmm.
I can't.
So during the trial, we get to learn a little bit more about Spader and his motivations for this.
Okay.
So he was a former Boy Scout who dropped out of high school and got his GED.
Is he the 19-year-old one?
He's the 17-year-old one.
Okay.
But he's like the ringleader.
Got it.
Shortly before the murders, he formed a little club called the Disciples of Destruction. And he even designed his own little logo for it with the initials DOD.
He was the first Canva user. Hope you're very proud of your little graphic design for your deadly club.
A psychopath.
You little fucking prick.
Mm-hmm. So this DOD club was how he recruited the 3 other boys. None of them really even knew each other at the time of the murders. They weren't like friends. They were just like outcast kind of weirdos. Like, I want to be in this club with this guy. He seems really cool.
Okay.
Whatever. I don't know. And all this is kind of coming from them too. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's like, take it with a grain of salt. We're like, I barely even know him.
Yeah.
We're not even really friends. I just like wanted to join a club. It's like, we don't really know if that's true.
Yeah, I don't know. Spader had told them that the home invasion was a rite of initiation for the group members. Also, during the trial, it came out that while he was in jail, they were in jail for like at least a year and a half before they actually went to trial.
Yeah.
And there were reports from his fellow inmates that he had just been bragging to them about like the really gruesome details of Kim's murder.
It's just so frustrating because like these are the types of people that arguably should be held awaiting trial. And then they're held in the same places as people who are awaiting trial for bullshit like weed offenses. And this person who brutally attacked a woman and her child with a machete and is bragging about it in prison. Like, y'all, come on.
And he didn't even pretend to be remorseful about...
He clearly didn't give a shit.
He did not give a shit. And neither did Gribble, it seemed. So this is from NBC. Christopher Gribble, who was 19 at the time, by this time was 20, told police after his arrest that he had wanted to kill someone for a long time and was disappointed he didn't feel any emotion following the October killing of 42-year-old Kimberly Kates in her home.
Wow.
The document states, quote, Gribble stated his only regret was that he didn't kill the child because now she had to live with this. Gribble said that if he realized she was alive, he would have killed her.
I don't like how he's saying, I wish I had killed her because now she's like going to suffer living with this awful thing for the rest of her life. Like, you don't care about her.
He didn't communicate whatever his sentiment was very well.
Ew.
In
November, I just got chills. Ugh.
In November 2010, so I guess they were just in jail for a year. So they had their trial in the second half of 2010. In November 2010, Spader was convicted of murder and other charges and was sentenced to life in prison. Judge Jillian Abramson handed down the maximum sentence against Spader and said she could go on for days about the depths of his depravity. The sentence ensures, quote, you will stay in that cage for the rest of your pointless life.
Yep.
Because of the U.S. Supreme Court's Miller versus Alabama 2012 ruling that limited the sentencing of minors to mandatory life sentences, Spader was granted a new sentencing hearing. So both Spader and Gribble had like It wasn't a retrial. It was just a resentencing.
Yep.
In 2012. In that hearing, Spader totally waived his right to appear in court personally and reportedly instructed his lawyers not to argue for a reduced sentence. He said he was, quote, the most sick and twisted person you'll ever meet, that he did not want to slip by on some technicality and insisted he wanted to, quote, take responsibility for my actions.
Okay.
So he said this like kind of wrapped up in a bullshit apology to the family who were present in the courtroom, which they later said was completely offensive.
Yeah, they didn't believe it for a second.
And he was moved to a prison in New Jersey in 2014 and reportedly has gotten into a couple scuffles in New Jersey. In March 2011, Gribble returned to the stand for his insanity trial.
Oh, great.
He was trying to convince a jury that he was insane when he killed Kim Kates and left her daughter to die. He talked about the beginning of the crime spree with Spader, and he also read a text message that he sent to his ex-girlfriend about his dark side. So this is, again, Gribble, the oldest one. The text read, quote, I can't seem to make it through life the way religion says to. I've tried letting my nice side run things. It didn't work. Now the dark side of me will.
Okay, so he's a goth dork. That doesn't support an insanity plea.
His ex-girlfriend replied, what life are you talking about? And Gribble responded, quote, whatever keeps me going. Steve and I have plans.
Okay, so premeditation is in that text.
His trial also revealed that Spader had previously told Gribble what to bring with, including gloves, acetone, and rope.
Yeah. So how did they pick this house? Or was it really just the act was planned, but the chosen house was random?
I think it was completely random. I don't think that they necessarily planned to kill anyone because probably it would have looked like no one was home if they were both sleeping in bed. So they might have just cut the power in case there was an alarm system. And then went inside, found them in the bedroom, killed them. That's why only 2 of them killed them, because the other 2 were probably like, we did not sign up for this.
Yeah.
Spader and Gribble are definitely on one side of things. And the other 2, I don't think that the other 2 anticipated murdering someone that night.
Yeah, and how out of hand this was going to get. Okay.
So a jury found Gribble guilty of murder. Judge Gillian Abramson, the same judge, sentenced him to life in prison without parole and also scolded him, saying, quote, infinity is not enough jail time for you. In the closing arguments, Assistant Attorney General Peter Hinckley emphasized that Gribble was sane because, like you said, he had plotted, chosen the weapons. He knew to hide evidence because there was, like, when they left, they dumped a bunch of shit in the river. And initially lied about his involvement. So his defense attorney reminded the jury that even clinical depression is grounds to find Gribble legally insane at the time of the crime. So she was trying to point to these text messages being like, his dark side is coming out. And like you said, okay, you're just a goth dork. That doesn't mean you're insane.
Right.
She's saying, well, even if he was clinically depressed, you can't say that he wasn't insane. She portrayed Gribble as an abused child who suppressed urges to kill until he fell in with his accomplice, Spader, who really he was like, yeah, fuck yeah, let's go kill someone. So here's where the dork part finally comes in. That same month, the Telegraph released an article stating that Gribble just didn't do well in groups of his peers. It stated that he was awkward and just didn't pick up on very many social cues. And there was one of their friends, associates named Autumn Savoy, who met Gribble a few weeks before the attack, described him as a dork, dressed in the same camouflage outfit all the time, was really into the military and Dungeons and Dragons. He fit a very specific
profile.
He reminds me of Len. You know what I mean?
Yep. I know exactly what you mean.
Savoy, although not directly a part of the attacks, was charged with helping Spader and Gribble throw evidence into the Nashua River, and also with telling investigators that the pair had slept over at his house that night on Sunday night. They were at my house. So Savoy accepted a 5 to 12 year prison sentence for those offenses, and he was granted parole in 2015.
Okay.
So for the other guys,
kind of like you were an accessory in a way because you were trying to cover for them.
You lied to the cops. You got rid of evidence. You might not have been there, but you probably knew exactly what happened.
And didn't do anything about it.
They would have been covered in blood if he had seen them that night afterwards. In 2011, Glover was sentenced to 20 to 40 years on charges of burglary, robbery, and conspiracy to commit burglary. Marks received 30 to 60 years for conspiracy to commit murder, burglary, and first-degree assault. So Marks did more. I don't know. These are just the charges.
Sure.
In October of 2014, Dave and Jamie hosted a golf tournament to commemorate the 5-year anniversary of the attack and to raise scholarship money for kids who are interested in going into medicine because Kim was a nurse. What a legacy
for Kim.
I know.
That's a really special way to honor her memory.
They still do these golf tournaments. There was one just a few weeks ago. I think they have one every year. So at that time in 2014, Jamie was 16 and a junior in high school. And in a CBS interview, she said, even though her mom is gone, she's still teaching her lessons. Quote, I feel like no matter how rough life gets, you will always have people there and get through it. So if you want more information on the Memorial Fund or the golf events, you can find that at kimkatesfund.org. It's KIMCATESFUND.org.
Oh, rest in peace, Kim.
She was so cute, too. I've got pictures of her.
And poor sweet Jamie. God, what she's been through.
Yeah, there's a picture
of
Jamie.
And all those trials and the sentencing and the resentencing. That's a lot of trauma over and over and over again for years.
And then there's a picture of Marks and Glover. Look how fucking young they look.
Yeah, they're creepy.
They're super creepy, but then Gribble looks terrifying. Spader looks terrifying. I don't know. Ugh. And there's just no remorse. And the fact that it was completely random and it was so violent. That's just one of these crimes. It's like there was no reason for it. It couldn't have been prevented. They just stole these people's lives.
Well, it could have been prevented if any of their shitty friends had either intervened or come forward when they were planning this. But I
guess I meant it couldn't have been prevented by the victims because it was so like they were asleep.
So random.
And they did not know these people.
They're in their own homes. They're in bed.
Yeah. It's just sad. So
fuck me. Well, great. Well done.
That's my dark dorks for you.
My case is slightly less dark. There's no machete involved, at least. So we'll have like a little bit less drama when we come back. Okay. Are you ready for my case?
Yes.
Please continue to enjoy your Crunch Bars.
Oh, I am.
Good. I want this for you. Okay. George Trepal was living in Florida in the 80s and worked as a chemist and computer programmer. Nerd! Fucking dork!
Nerd alert.
Dorcas Amorcus. He was highly intelligent with a strong interest in puzzles and games, which he shared with his wife, Diana. She also had similar interests. She was a chemistry enthusiast. She had become a doctor. They were both accomplished, smart people. George had a couple hiccups along the way, which we'll get to. One in particular that I found kind of amusing. But for the most part, nerdy, geeky, Dorcas, kept to himself, and his like Mensa homies.
Oh, he was in Mensa?
Yes. We'll get to Mensa.
Oh, God.
The couple lived in Alturas, Florida, a small rural community situated between Lakeland and Winter Haven in central Florida. George and Diana were quiet neighbors who mostly kept to themselves and their equally nerdy group of friends.
Oh, my God.
Can
we like them or no?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I think Diana's probably fine. I don't think she knew the depths of her husband's depravity, but
okay.
Yeah. I mean, she wasn't implicated in any of this. I don't know if she knew what was going on, but
okay.
They're not the protagonists of this story, that's for damn sure.
Got it.
They were known for hosting murder mystery games and belonged to the Mensa Society, which was where they met and fell in love and where they connected with the majority of their friends. Trepal and his nerdy homies enjoyed game nights that often involved creating and solving intricate mysteries, sometimes involving dark or twisted themes. I was a little curious about Mensa. Clearly, I am not a member. I knew it was like for smart nerds, but it's a high IQ society that was founded in England in 1946. Its purpose is to create a social and intellectual community for individuals whose IQs fall in the top 2% of the population.
So they don't have to be friends with our dumbasses.
Yeah, exactly. The name Mensa means table in Latin, symbolizing a round table society where members are equals regardless of background, education, or profession. But I love that it's like, no, it's Mensa, it's table, it's everyone gets a seat at the table, but you have to take a standardized intelligence test administered by Mensa to submit prior evidence of qualifying IQ score to get in. So like,
they can't let dum-dums in.
No.
That would defeat the whole purpose.
I just found that funny.
I think it's funny that they chose their name based on a word in a dead language.
Yeah. But it's Latin, so it sounds really smart.
Yeah, right.
Beyond just providing a social network, Mensa organizes intellectual events, lectures, workshops, puzzle competitions, and other activities for members who share a love of learning and intellectual challenges. So it's a smart club for dorks.
I want to be in Mensa.
We can't.
I know.
We can't be in Mensa.
If there was a Mensa for like people who knew a lot about cats...
We could be in mentally ill podcasters club. Dave Ryan of the Dave Ryan in the Morning Show is a Mensa member.
What? That's not true.
I saw it's on his Instagram.
That has got to be a joke.
I don't think it is. I believe it.
You think Dave Ryan of KDWB is in Mensa?
It's on his Instagram. Dave Ryan Mensa.
You should have asked him yesterday.
He wasn't there.
Oh.
He wasn't there. Morning radio host, author, motorcycles, pilot, magic, ukulele, dad, Mensa.
He also capitalized it as if it's an acronym.
About Dave Ryan from the website. It says, did you know that Dave Ryan is a member of the high IQ society Mensa? If not, just stick around for 5 minutes and he'll mention it again. He's very proud of it.
But he capitalized it. It's not an acronym.
What? So fucking what?
That's the clue.
I love that you're going to be a Dave Ryan Mensa truther as if any of that matters. He's in Mensa.
I'm texting Fallon.
No, you're not, because I did not share your number with her. Or her number with you. Okay.
Okay.
Either way, maybe Dave Ryan knew this guy in the 80s. Who knows? We'll find out. So George and his wife Diana were quiet, intellectual. They preferred a low-key lifestyle and kept to themselves. And like this, when we say rural community, like rural community, like the closest neighbor, they had a next door neighbor, and then it was like miles before there were other houses. So
okay,
that paints a picture.
Like grow your own food rural.
Not necessarily grow your own food rural, but rural enough that you're driving a significant distance to get to a grocery store. Like this will become relevant shortly, but like even their mail, like they lived in a certain town, but when you addressed letters to them, it was a different town because that's where you would have to go pick up your mail. Like the post office, like the post person doesn't even come deliver your mail at your house. Or it was like under the umbrella of another town's postal system because their town was so small that this other town just like took care of it. And it's weird. It's a small community.
In Central Florida?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Central Florida is weird. I've driven through it. It's weird.
I guess I just don't think of it as terribly rural.
It is really rural, but that's because we've only really been to like Miami, Tampa, Orlando. But when you're outstate, it's rural.
Okay.
So when they got new neighbors, the Carr family, George and Diana, specifically George, were disturbed to realize that the family was much larger, livelier, more social, and this created tension.
They weren't as big of dorks.
Nope.
Wow.
The Carrs had recently moved into the house next door, and their noise and activity levels irritated George. Peggy Carr, in particular, had children and stepchildren who often played loud music, argued, and generally disrupted the quiet neighborhood atmosphere that George valued. The clash in personalities and living styles, along with what appeared to be a lack of compatibility in expectations for noise and behavior, fueled George Trepal's disdain for the family.
So they were a loud, socially adept family, and he didn't like it.
He didn't like it. They started the way that uppity neighbors do. They were filing complaints with the county. They were making noise complaints to police. I also saw a report that said Peggy's husband, Pye, who we'll get to, P-Y-E, it's a nickname. Pye Carr. George had suspected he was like building a structure or something on the land, and George was trying to pull some bullshit that's like, you don't have permits, you don't have this. He's just trying to be a nuisance because he's annoyed by this family.
Yeah.
But when this tactic didn't do the trick, frustrations escalated to the point where George Trepal took extreme and lethal action. In 1988, Trepal's neighbors, the Carr family, began experiencing severe and unexplained health issues shortly after receiving a mysterious, threatening note. The note read, quote, "You and your so-called family have 2 weeks to move out of Florida forever or else you will all die. This is not a joke."
Oh my God.
Okay, guy. The letter, this is where this is relevant. The letter was postmarked in nearby Bartow, Florida. Even though the Carr home was in Alturas, the letter correctly listed their mailing address as being in Bartow, Florida. The Carr and Trepal homes, both in Alturas, had Bartow mailing addresses because they got their mail on the Bartow post office route.
That's something really, only George would kind of know.
George Trepal would know this fact, but a random assailant likely wouldn't. A few months after getting the threatening note, Peggy Carr began to show symptoms of an unknown illness, including nausea, pain in her chest and extremities, and difficulty breathing. She was admitted to Bartow Memorial Hospital and stayed for 3 days. When she was released and went back home, her symptoms worsened. And the children in the Carr home, namely her teenage sons, Travis and Dwayne, I think Travis was her son with Pye, and Dwayne was a son from a previous marriage.
Of course, teenagers in the 80s are Travis and Dwayne.
I know.
Those are very 80s Florida teenagers.
So true. So true. Travis and Dwayne, sons of Peggy and Pye.
Peg and Pye.
Peg and Pye. And there were other kids in the house. They had children together, and I believe they both had children from previous marriages. And Travis and Dwayne started getting sick as well. On October 30th, 1988, Peggy, Travis, and Dwayne were all admitted to Winter Haven Hospital. The treating neurologist, Dr. Richard Hostler, suspected thallium poisoning.
Oh.
Or is it thallium or thallium, or is it tomato?
I don't know.
I feel like I've heard it both
thallium.
ways.
Who knows?
Within 24 hours, lab tests confirmed the presence of thallium in Peggy's tissues. Despite treatment, so like they were able to narrow it down, figure out that it was thallium poisoning, but they were like, there wasn't a whole lot they could do about it because her condition was really advanced. It was bad.
And like, how do you even flush that out? Like transfusions and shit?
I guess. I mean, they were able to give successful treatment to the boys, but they tried to treat Peggy, but her condition deteriorated. And within a week, she lapsed into a coma from which she never awoke.
Ooh.
She died on March 3rd, 1989. Her son, Dwayne, remained hospitalized for 2 months, and Travis, her son, was in the hospital for 6 months.
Oh, my God.
Both eventually recovered, thank God, but it was bad. Bad. Tests revealed the presence of thallium not only in Travis and Dwayne, but also in Peggy's husband, Pi, and his daughter, Galena. Also, his granddaughter, Casey, all of whom lived with Pi and Peggy. So there were a lot of, like, kids from different marriages, grandkids. It was, it was a big property, big family, all living together. And they all had traces of thallium in their system. Although, fortunately, Pi, Galena, and Casey didn't get sick from it. They probably just consumed a lot less. Peggy consumed the most, then the boys, Travis and Dwayne survived. So of all the people poisoned in this fucking family, it's actually kind of a miracle that only Peggy died.
Mm-hmm. Because the note said they would all die.
Mm-hmm.
And that wasn't a joke.
It was not a joke, as the note also said. Thallium poisoning is relatively rare, which made it challenging for doctors to treat at the time. Thallium poisoning is highly toxic and can cause a range of severe symptoms, often worsening over time due to thallium's tendency to accumulate in the body. So if you drink it or eat it or consume it once, it's not like arsenic. You're not going to immediately get sick right away. Like, it has to build up a little bit in your system. Key symptoms, just in case you experience any of these, maybe get checked for thallium, include gastrointestinal symptoms like nausea, vomiting, abdominal pain, and diarrhea. So check. Tag yourself. Neurological symptoms. As the poisoning progresses, thallium affects the nervous system, leading to numbness, tingling, muscle weakness, confusion, seizures, and in severe cases, coma, like Peggy. It's so sad because, like, something I read was that Peggy had been sick for a little while. She was working as a waitress at like a local diner, and she went in for her shift, and she got so sick by the end of her shift that she took herself to the hospital. She thought she was having a heart attack. So she was probably experiencing some of these symptoms that we'll get to. But yeah, and then a few months later, she fucking died. Not even a few months later, like a few weeks later, she died.
Yikes.
Hair loss is a symptom. A distinctive symptom of thallium poisoning is significant hair loss, often occurring within a few weeks of exposure. This hair loss is sometimes referred to as thallium fallout.
Ew.
Yeah, that's fucking scary. That's like some radiation ass shit.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Cardiovascular and respiratory issues. Severe cases can lead to irregular heartbeats, respiratory distress, and even organ failure. So she was likely experiencing some of that when she brought herself to the ER.
Yeah.
Psychological symptoms. Victims may also experience mood swings, anxiety, and hallucinations, as well as kidney and liver damage. Thallium is toxic to organs, so prolonged exposure can result in kidney and liver damage, further complicating recovery. So yeah, even if you catch it and you try to treat it, that's probably part of why she was not able to recover. It's because she had so much organ damage from the thallium.
Thallium is like an element, right? It's like a metal.
Yeah, that would have been smart for me to include. What is thallium? Thallium is a chemical element. It has symbol Ti and atomic number 81. It's a silvery white post-transition metal that is not to be found free in nature. When isolated, thallium resembles tin, but discolors when exposed to air.
Okay.
It was discovered independently in 1861 in residues of sulfuric acid production. So yeah, it's like a chemical byproduct.
Oh, okay. It's like if it's not found in nature,
Which
we
makes
didn't
sense
invent it.
because our boy George is a fucking chemist.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So thallium is also colorless, odorless, and tasteless. It can be easily ingested without detection, making it exceptionally dangerous.
Wow. This might be the new way I kill someone.
Don't do it. It sounds like an awful way to die. Don't kill that slowly.
No, I still think I'd go with the insulin overdose.
Yeah. You have access to all the supplies you need. Just spend one weekend with me.
Mm-hmm. I get to steal all your insulin.
Mm-hmm.
A couple needles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got plenty. Suspicion immediately fell on Trepal because he was the closest neighbor in the rural community, and for a guy in Mensa, he was really fucking stupid. When asked in the initial conversation with police why anyone would want to poison the cars, Trepal said that perhaps someone wanted them to move out of their home.
Way to say the one reason that super implicates their neighbors.
Investigators found Trepal's response eerily similar to the threatening letter that the Carr family had received.
They also only have like one neighbor.
So, literally, the only house you can see from the Carr family's house is his, which is why he was questioned in the first place. Yeah. And they're like, oh, so what? Do you think, would they have any enemies? Why do you think that anybody would do this? Probably because they hated their neighbor and wanted their neighbor to fucking leave. And probably because they threatened their fucking neighbor and they called the cops on their neighbor a million fucking times and nobody fucking did fuck all about it. And they were loud at a bunch of kids.
There's only one neighbor.
Probably that. Probably that, though. I fucking can't. I couldn't believe it when I read
fucking
that.
Travis.
Fucking Dwayne and Travis fucking out on their goddamn trampoline all fucking day. I don't even know
they're shooting off fireworks, too.
Probably. They're kids.
Yeah.
In a rural property in Florida, they had a trampoline. They shot off fireworks.
There was an above-ground pool.
Probably. Why not? It's Florida.
It's hot.
Police later learned that Trepal had a college degree in chemistry and in the 1970s was a chemist of a meth lab for which he served 2.5 years in federal prison. Oh. So the original Heisenberg.
Oh my God, he only got 2.5 years in prison.
Well, they're probably like, okay, who tricked this fucking chemistry dork into making meth for them? Can we?
It was also the 70s. They were like, meth,
meth, schmeth.
It's not that
also,
bad.
it was Florida.
All of this tracks. Okay.
But so, which answer works best for you? So they immediately, with all this information, they're like, this looks sus. Also, he is a felon, technically. Like, we got to keep an eye on this guy. We don't have enough right now to say for sure that it's him or to even get a warrant to search his house, but we're going to surveil him. So they immediately begin to surveil and investigate him. During the investigation in April of 1989, an article in the local newspaper advertised upcoming events for the Mensa organization. The article discussed an upcoming Mensa Murder Weekend, a role-playing event that George and Diana Trepal were hosting.
People
after he murdered his neighbor. I know.
Jesus.
Susan Gorek, a special agent with the Polk County Sheriff's Department, that's the county that this town is in, began an undercover investigation of Trepal by attending the event, under the assumed name of Sherry Gwynn. The Mensa Murder Weekend was held at a local hotel. There were 4 quote-unquote murders acted out during the weekend, which the participants, while acting out their roles, tried to solve. It's a murder mystery weekend. Mm-hmm. The story concerned voodoo, which, like, it's a bunch of fucking white people in Florida doing a voodoo-themed murder mystery. Yeah, could we get any more classic...
That's pretty tacky.
Racist, tacky bullshit? Come on. The murders were written in a very sophisticated way, and each of the 4 was preceded by the victim receiving a threatening note. Trepal's wife wrote the murder scenarios with George's help.
Of course.
So George is like, Diana's going to write this, but I'm going to give her the ideas. Mm-hmm. It'll never get traced back to me.
No, this is the cleverest thing I could do. This is
in particular,
totally putting distance between me and the suspicion of the cops. Yeah.
The super obvious murder I did. Yeah. In particular, George himself wrote a booklet to give to participants during the weekend that discussed, among other things, poisoning and threats by neighbors. This was gold. Pure fucking gold. What a fucking idiot.
I hope that undercover agent was like, are you fucking kidding me?
I mean, if I had been Special Agent Susan Gorick / Sherry Gwynn, I don't think I could have kept it together. I would have been like, dude, this is a little on the nose, don't you think? The pamphlet he handed out stated in part, quote, few voodooists believe they can be killed by psychic means, but no one doubts that he can be poisoned. When a death threat appears on the doorstep, prudent people throw out all of their food and watch what they eat. Hardly anyone dies from magic. Most items on the doorstep are just a neighbor's way of saying, I don't like you, move or else.
Oh my God.
He's just writing an intricate version of he's like playing out his little
he thinks he
dream.
He thinks he got away with what he did.
Fully thinks he got away with it.
And he thinks that was like the smartest thing he could ever do. And he's bragging about it to himself.
He's like, I got them with an barely traceable poison. Like they can't smell it. They can't taste it. They won't know it was me.
And in this booklet, he's like, any non-idiot would throw out their food.
After getting a threatening note. So
what
it's their
bunch
fault.
of dumbasses these people were. Mm-hmm. Oh my God. What a clown.
During the weekend, Trepal told his still undercover friend, who was actually the sheriff, that he and his wife were planning to move and that Trepal might be selling his Alturas home. Gorick told Trepal she would like to look at Trepal's home if it were for sale. Go girl, get in there. A few days after the Mensa murder weekend, Agent Gorick, still disguised as Sherry Gwynn, went to George Trepal's home, ostensibly about buying it. Gorick visited Trepal several more times in May and June of 1989. Gorick became friendly with Trepal and his wife and learned, among other things, that George was very interested in botany and knew about poisonous plants, which is not how he would have made thallium, because as we know, it doesn't naturally occur like in nature, but he was clearly into poison, period, full stop. The undercover investigation eventually turned up enough evidence to get a search warrant for his home. During the search, police, and again, this is months after Peggy has died.
Okay.
And he's aware that her death is being investigated as suspicious because the police have already questioned him.
Are the boys still in the hospital?
At this point, I think they're out.
Okay.
But, I mean, Dwayne or Travis were in there for a couple months and the other was in there for 6.
Yeah.
So, like, there could have been crossover. It took almost a year for them to be able to get him to trial. So, like, they were able to file charges, I'd say, maybe 8 months or so after her murder.
Okay.
The timeline's, like, a little muddy. There wasn't, like, a ton of information on this case, despite it being absolutely fucking wild.
Mm-hmm.
But all that to say, he knew this was being investigated. And it took months for them to get a search warrant. And this is what they found in his house. Like, revoke his Mensa membership. This guy's so fucking stupid. Why wouldn't you get rid of this shit? During the search, police found thallium in like a brown glass jar in a drawer in his garage.
What a fucking He fully thought he got away with it.
He fully thought he got away with it. And incriminating literature, including articles on poison and murder mysteries involving toxic substances. They also found a magazine with an article detailing thallium poisoning, which appeared to closely mirror what happened to the Carr family. It's not entirely clear where George Trepal obtained the thallium. It's very likely that he made it himself.
Mm-hmm.
But he also could have had access to suppliers that the general public might not know about it because he worked in chemistry.
Yeah.
It was also easier in the 80s, just in general, for individuals to get, with scientific backgrounds, to acquire restricted chemicals. Because it was, even at this time, thallium was a highly regulated, heavily restricted chemical because it's so toxic.
Mm.
but he was still able to either make it himself or acquire it. He could have gotten it through professional networks, chemical suppliers, or possibly old laboratory stock. Thallium was historically used in rodenticides and insecticides, although these uses had largely been discontinued by the time of the car poisoning. Again, because it's so toxic and it's like having these things in your house for pests is not safe for the people in your house.
Yeah.
Trepal's knowledge and expertise in chemistry likely made it possible for him to either locate or synthesize the poison himself for his deadly purposes. In 1991, Trepal was tried on charges of first-degree murder for Peggy, and then at least 6 counts of attempted murder for everyone else in the family that had traces of thallium in their system that were in that house.
God.
Quote, Trepal, this is from like a breakdown of court documents. Said, quote, Trepal's trial lasted a month with more than 70 witnesses providing overwhelming evidence of Trepal's guilt. For example, several independent witnesses chronicled Trepal's long-running conflicts with and animosity toward the Carr family. Evidence established Trepal's extensive knowledge of chemistry, as well as his possession of chemistry laboratory equipment, a number of toxic chemicals, and a homemade journal on poisons and poison detection in human organs. Girl, throw out your diary. Get rid of your chemistry set.
Oh my God. Get rid of the jar of poison.
The jar of thallium.
Oh my God.
Finally, multiple experts uniformly testified that 1, the victims were poisoned by thallium. 2, thallium was found in both the empty and unopened. Now, this is how we're getting to the part where how did they get thallium in their system? There were empty as well as full and unopened Coca-Cola bottles in their home. They basically, when they realized that Peggy had died of thallium poisoning, an investigation of the Carr home took place, and they took like all the food, all the drinks, they're testing pipes. They were testing everything to be like, where the fuck is this coming from? We can't let them keep consuming thallium. Could this be a larger threat to the community? Like, they were freaking out.
Yeah.
Took it very seriously, thank God. But they found traces of it in the empty bottles, and then they tested some seemingly unopened bottles, and it was in the Coca-Cola in these bottles.
So did he how'd he get it in there?
We'll get to it.
Ooh.
3, thallium was found in a brown bottle in Trepal's garage. He gained access to the house and spiked the sodas when the Carr family was out, having watched them and learned their routines. So he was sneaking in and gently opening caps and then replacing them, or maybe just cinching them back on.
Oh my
After
God.
putting this powdered substance in there. And again, it has no smell. It has no flavor.
Yeah.
And it's it doesn't have a color. It appears white when it's a powder, but then it's completely clear when it hits moisture.
Just snuck in when they weren't at home. What a
He
fucking
just snuck
creep.
into their house and spiked their Coke bottles.
Ew.
I know.
Don't do that to me.
So
you know I love my
gross.
Cokes.
I know. I thought of you when I read that. I was like, we'd be poisoned so fast. We love our Cokes.
Yeah.
The poisoning was particularly insidious because, as I already have mentioned, thallium is tasteless, odorless, and colorless, so the family did not detect anything unusual in their drinks. This method allowed Trepal to poison multiple family members without their immediate knowledge, leading to prolonged exposure and worsening symptoms, and Peggy's death before doctors could fully identify and figure out the cause of. So they were aware that there was thallium, but they didn't know where it was coming from.
Mm-hmm.
It was too late for Peggy. They were able to save Travis and Dwayne, but then they're still, public health officials are still investigating in the house, where the fuck is this coming from?
Is it in the water supply or something?
Mm-hmm. Trepal was ultimately convicted and sentenced to death. He's been on death row in Florida since then, so since 1991 or 1992 when the verdict came down, continuing to appeal his conviction with his team citing evidence of shoddy work at the FBI crime lab. However, all of his attempts thus far have been denied. This is an excerpt from The Ledger. Quote, death row inmates in Florida spend an average of 12.7 years awaiting execution, according to the State Department of Corrections. Trepal passed that milestone nearly 8 years ago. At the time this article was written. This is an older article. But he's far from having the longest tenure on death row. Gary Alvord, condemned to death for murdering 3 Hillsborough County women in 1973, had been there since 1974. Trepal, a friend says, spends his days reading books and writing letters. Peggy's surviving children have come to accept the situation over the years. Quote, if God can forgive me, why can't I forgive him? Said Dubberly. I think that's Dwayne, who at the time of that interview was 38. A few years back, I woke up one day and said I wasn't going to keep hating this man. I'm sick and tired of it, and it doesn't change anything. He's right.
Mm-hmm.
It's just really fucking heartbreaking.
Yeah.
His sister, Galena Kent, said that she, too, has worked through the anger she once felt toward her mother's murderer. Quote, when we lived near him, he always seemed arrogant, she said. But when we saw him in court during the trial, he looked sad and seemed to be scared. I remember almost feeling sorry for him.
Well,
Kent, at the time of this article, 42, now lives in Wyoming, and said years of counseling brought her to a place where she could forgive George Trepal.
Oh.
Yep. And just one last thing that I found while I was researching that was like so weird because I found it on like the first page of Google and I was like, why is this here? But some true crime astrology dork did George Trepal's birth chart. Andrea, I'm looking at you.
Andrea, was it you?
Yeah. So I know you mentioned that was your person in
Pisces.
Pisces, but that's
Kim was
a Pisces.
The victim.
George is his sun is in Aquarius, his moon is in Scorpio, and his ascending is in Aries. He was born January 23rd, 1949 in New York.
Wow.
So there you go.
And he's still alive. He has not been executed.
Yeah, he's still there. He's been on death row for over 30 years.
Wow.
In Rayford, Florida.
I scrolled down to the little bit about having your sun in Aquarius. Mm-hmm. One of your characteristics is having originality and a short temper.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. And a revoked Mensa membership.
Also,
what a dumbass.
I feel like if you looked up dork in the dictionary, you'd see this guy's face. Like the big dorky glasses. He definitely looks like kind of an outcast nerd. Dork weirdo.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I've seen this guy.
Yeah, probably. He has a very distinct face.
He really does.
Like a really creepy mouth and teeth.
I don't like it. His lips look totally one-dimensional.
And like he has the kind of lips that aren't round, like they're flat, but also stick out and up.
They're like fish lips.
Yeah, it's very odd.
Mm-hmm. Well, anyway, I don't like him.
It.
Yeah, he's a fucking dork.
Yep. Dork.
Oh, thank you so much for joining us today. And we'll be back next week with some
something
other
else.
shit.
Yep. Some other shit we're not going to tell you right now.
We'll see you later.
Bye-bye.